bring myself up. Let me take that down. And here we are once again. It is Sunday morning coming down, as famously said. At the moment, here we have Chris and myself are the only ones here right this minute, but there's some more people that are making the changeover even as we speak, and they will come in their own sweet time. So, how are you doing, Chris?
I'm doing good.
It was a pretty good stupid o'clock, wasn't it?
Yeah. I was a little more vocal than normal, but
Hey, I like that.
too many opportunities to try and explain the lethality and potential of Joe's methane expulsions.
Yeah, well, this is one of the reasons why OSHA should really chase him down and get him to fill out some hazardous material data sheets and.
It, like I said, I think if they could learn to refine that stuff, it might solve some of the world's energy problems.
Well, if we could contain it and get it to a storage facility, it might cut back on a lot of the global warming we're going through at the moment. So
yeah, that would help as well.
And here we go. First comment. Hey, Josh. Glad to have you over here. We pretty much just continue on from what Stupid O'Clock was doing. Occasionally, I'll have something else that I want to drift over into, but not at the moment.
We spent a lot of time on here last week.
Oh Lord, yeah. And last week, it went on for 4 hours and 45 minutes, grand total. And then here we go. Had to have somebody go, I can do better than that. And their show went on for 5 hours and about 5 minutes. So, one of these things. Oh, and here we have the illustrious Joe Dog. Let me bring him up here.
Hey, guys.
Yep.
I had 4 glasses of sweet tea at dinner tonight, and I had to pee before we left, before the show started.
Mm-hmm.
And now you got to go again?
No, but I'm going to tell you, I couldn't have held on any longer.
And here's our second viewer of the night, Ace Bonnie.
Yeah.
Glad to have you here.
Yeah,
And,
Ace, you're going to have to join us one of these days.
Oh, yeah.
Even if you don't have your camera turned on, just as long as you talk to us and I don't know how much of an inner smart ass you have, but it really comes in handy with this group. Let me tell you.
No, what I was talking about with, excuse me, God.
That onion is really tearing you up.
It's rough.
You
gotta admit, Chris, them were some stout onions.
Yeah, they were good though, and
they were good.
They had some good flavor to them. I didn't realize it was for you. It was sort of like Crystal and the Varsity. You get to enjoy those more than once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort
of like a jalapeno pepper. You feel the burn coming in, and you feel the burn again a second time.
Yeah. No, Robert Lamb. I asked him about. He was the animator for She-Ra and He-Man and Masters of the Universe.
And Tarzan, Lord of the Apes?
Something like that. I said, I've got to ask you, since you did this, I said, this is probably something you've been asked about 25,000 times since June. He goes, it sucks.
Uh-huh. I can pretty much guess the question. But go ahead and enlighten us anyway.
I never asked the question.
You never needed to ask it.
I mean, and he goes, I gave up after the 3rd episode.
Mm.
He goes, it was childish. it had such great people behind it. He goes, the animation was horrible. Uh-oh, Josh just sent me a message. Hold on a minute.
Alrighty. I'll just keep on fulfilling
okay. Josh, I will get with you on that. He said it was the writing was childish. The characters were doing stuff that were completely out of character.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I don't have an answer for that.
Alexa, mute.
There's a time and a place, and this may be the time, but that ain't the place.
He said I was disappointed. And I said, oh, it was almost like the Dukes of Hazzard movie.
Oh, now I got to try and remember. That was a long time
ago. Jessica Simpson, and I forgot who the other.
Johnny Knoxville.
Okay.
They completely destroyed the franchise.
Yeah.
One thing they absolutely refused was to let any of the Dukes cast have a cameo.
Yep.
Yeah, that pretty much doomed the project from the get-go.
Yeah. And he goes, I haven't seen that. And I told him all that. And he goes, exactly. It was horrific. I said, he says, have you watched it? And I said, from what I've read, my heart's already broken. He says, save your time.
Really?
I mean, when, one of the creators says, save your time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you might want to listen to him.
And the thing is, he probably wanted it to be successful to keep his stuff also
alive
in the spotlight. But I heard it's more about Tila than it is He-Man, and that it's not very well done.
Mm. And the thing is, I've seen people post about it where they're celebrating that it's about Tila instead of He-Man. Mm-hmm. And I'm going, well, why didn't they just do a Tila show?
Exactly. They could have called it Masters of the Universe instead of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, really. Or Tila and all her fans.
Yeah.
Anything. From everybody's complaints, it reminds me of the second iteration of Johnny Quest, not the third one, which was actually, pretty good if you can get past the computer animation. But the second one was, oh God, they changed everything. They could not draw the plane worth of crap. The scripts were goofy. And they had a golem. I could have forgiven the golem if they'd actually written it like a golem instead of like a comedy character, but
I think there was another animated version in the 90s, mid to late 90s, that came out of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
That could be.
I was trying to revive it from that shitty movie they had.
Yeah.
The movie wasn't great, but it wasn't as bad as some people made it out to be. I thought.
I watched it and I go, if they hadn't tied this to He-Man, it would have been a decent movie. Yeah. If they just made up their own franchise for it to go with.
Yeah.
But
I thought Langella was a little bit over the top as Skeletor.
I think that was what he was supposed to do, though. That was the direction he was given.
Yeah, but I thought Meg Foster made a great Evelyn.
Mm-hmm.
And James Tolkien as the police detective was funny, because he was playing it serious and all that. It was kind
Yeah,
of funny.
yeah,
And they had a
like it.
decent Tila in it.
Yeah.
I was just upset that they didn't really focus on Man at Arms, and Battle Cat wasn't in it. And
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said,
it wasn't
it
terrible, but it wasn't
it
great either.
it wasn't a horrible movie if they had just not tried to do that particular cartoon as the basis of the movie. It would have been a great. It would give it a different title and change the costumes a bit, and it would have been wonderful.
Mm.
But
And sorry, I took over your show to bring up a comment, Danielle.
no,
I mean, it's habit. I'm sorry. This is
right
your show.
ahead. Go right ahead.
But Ace posted up. Now, granted, the new series is called Masters of the Universe Revelation. No He-Man in the name. Oh,
okay. Yeah, that is something I was not aware of. But
okay.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But another reason I wanted to come on tonight, Dan, is I want to tell you how proud I am of you.
Me? What did I do?
Last Man Standing.
Yeah.
You have pretty much gone from just a guy hanging out with me on the first few shows to now to the point you are running your own show. A quite successful show that's getting a lot of buzz.
Well, I'm glad that people are enjoying it.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of them make the 5-hour shows, but a lot of people hang out for at least the first hour.
I paid for it last week.
It's just last week was a special condition. I mean, we had people ready to go home, and I was ready to shut everything off, and then somebody else popped in, and the conversation got hot, and it was just so much fun. And then somebody else popped in, and the second person left, and it was just like, hey, how can I turn it off? And it's I don't have to go to work tomorrow, so let's just roll with it. Yeah.
So I enjoyed it. I mean, I can talk about music for quite a bit, and that was where the gist of it went.
Anytime at all. I've been listening to music since basically since I was born, and there's a lot of things I like, and there's a lot of things that I know about, even if I don't particularly appreciate the quality of them as much as I should. But it's one of those subjects that I've actually kind of can hold a candle in. But,
Nick, we appreciate you listening in. Understand you being tired from all the stuff you did. I mean, you had the bush hog and fight 6 battles and
laying cinder block. Dan knows right there he earned his money today.
Yeah. Oh Lord, yeah. If your arms aren't tired, you didn't do it right.
Yeah.
And if your back doesn't hurt, I'd be really surprised.
Yeah. And I can't do another marathon session tonight, but I thoroughly enjoyed last week. It was a great conversation.
Yeah. And another one of the guests at the convention today was Sergeant Slaughter.
There you go, wrestling fans.
He looked damn good for his age.
I'm going to tell you, when I walked up and talked to him, the guy tried to sell me. I said, I really don't have any money to buy anything. I just wanted to talk to Sarge for a minute and tell him that I am thoroughly impressed at how good he looks. And I mean, he still had that chiseled chin.
Yeah.
I said, you look absolutely amazing. I said, how long have you been wrestling? Like 50 years now? And I was being serious. I said, it's around 50 years if I remember right. He says, I've been wrestling 51 years this year. And I said, you are amazing. I said, you look absolutely amazing. He goes, well, good. You're not doing push-ups today. He was making people do push-ups. I said, thank you, because I don't think I could have pumped one out. He says, oh yeah, I'd have made you pump one out. And I said, you couldn't have done it. I said, the old back won't permit it. He goes, oh, okay, I understand. But then later on, he was walking around the convention floor,
Mm-hmm.
and Chris, you saw it.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen some of these old wrestlers, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
These poor guys can barely walk.
Mm-hmm.
The chest was out, the head was up, and the strut was on.
Oh yeah.
He didn't have maybe quite as long of a stride as he once did, but he still moved well for his age, and he's in incredible shape. And he's still got, the charisma and, the character down.
That's the point where you see the difference between the character
Mm-hmm.
and what people perceive the character to be.
Mm-hmm.
And you get the real character rather than everybody else's perceptions.
Yeah.
And the man exceeds what people expected. And that's one of those things it's very rare. It's very, very rare. Where somebody you think you have known for years from the TV, and then they show up and they're even larger than life.
Yeah.
And it just goes to their it's just a credit to them,
We can only flash this picture up for just a couple seconds.
Go for it.
Because it's a licensed image.
Mm-hmm.
We are just going to show you. And Chris will attest, this picture could have been taken today.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Sarge is 72 years old.
Yeah, and he's, maybe 270, 275?
Easy.
And he still moves as well as he does, carrying that weight. I mean, that chin looks like it was chiseled from granite.
Well, what was his fighting weight back in the day?
I think he was
230, 250?
No, I think he was about 260 to 285, depending on, the period of time. Because I think when he was a little younger, he was a little less. As he got a little bit older, he put on a little more weight. Because, you eat more, you don't burn as many calories, even if you work out, and you hold a little more weight than you did.
Well,
But
when
he
you
was
learn
solid.
when you learn what you do, and it gets like judo, it's you're not using as much energy to get the same effect. You're using your opponent's energy against them.
Yeah. But like I said, he's not far off from his competition weight.
Yeah.
And like I said, to be, Joe said, he's 72 years old? To be moving that well with that much mass at that age, especially the beatings some of these wrestlers take.
Ace Bonnie says his build weight was 305.
Okay.
Well,
he might have lost about 20, 30 pounds, but he still looks great.
And I mean, he moved like maybe a early 60s, late 50s, early 60s man. Just and had that presence. And like I told him, I also told him, I'll be honest with you, Sarge. When I reach your age, if I'm in half the shape you're in right now, I will be the happiest man in the world. He goes, you can do it. And I'm going, maybe. Of course, people in my shape with a bad back, what do you get? 20 years at the most.
And thank you for the info, Ace. I appreciate that.
Yeah, really. It's not one of my genres of entertainment, but I have learned a lot from listening to people that are fans.
It's not as fun as it once was, but yeah, back in the day, and and the stuff that I'm familiar with, the late '70s, '80s, early '90s,
Early
2000s.
90s.
That was when it was fun.
Thank you, Bill. Bill says he shared us on to his page. Thank you.
And
Yep,
good night, my friend. Yes,
yep.
indeed.
Vaya con Dios.
Yeah. And
What was it? He said here. No,
Yes,
now
I remember Ron Simmons. He was the
you guys,
first
I've got
black heavyweight champion of WCW NWA.
yeah, Ron Simmons wasn't he? What was the group that he was with? He tag team for a while. Was it with Booker T
I think him and
or
Hacksaw Butch Reed. He was
okay?
also part of the Nation of Domination.
I
And
think I think Ron Simmons was the manager for Booker T and somebody else.
but anyway, he was
Yeah.
also with the Acolyte Protection Agency, or the APA, with
Yeah.
Bradford Lawler or something like that. I can't, JBL. I can't think of the
Yeah,
last.
and Josh Waldrop's, Josh is a young guy. How old do you think Josh will tell us? I'm thinking Josh is maybe 22, 23.
He might be 26.
Okay, I'm figuring him just a little
I'm
little.
going a little bit up because he was a Tom Baker Doctor Who fan.
That don't mean nothing
I
anymore.
know it doesn't, but usually
Yeah,
the older
yeah.
kids tend to be more drawn to him.
Well, he was wearing the Tom Baker scarf with
Hmm.
the bow tie and the fez. So
Yeah.
there are very people that can pull off a decorative vegetable, but I take it Peter Davison wasn't represented in that particular cosplay.
Ron was a Florida State football defensive lineman
yeah,
or linebacker, and he was a very good player.
yeah. Florida State wasn't that where the Rock played too? No, he
No, he
was.
played for Miami.
I thought he was.
He got replaced by Warren Sapp.
Oh, okay. I thought he played. He was a Seminole.
No, he was a Miami Hurricane.
Oh,
But Ron Simmons probably played for Coach Bobby Bowden, who died last Sunday at the age of 91.
Good long run, though.
yeah.
Yes. And he has the second most career victories in Division One. I call it, I think, FBS now, college football.
And Chris was closer. He'd be 29 in 2 weeks. Josh, you do not look 29. I'll tell you that.
No, somebody thought he was 18.
Yeah.
Well, I could see that, but like I said, the slightly older, younger kids are more drawn to Tom Baker than the younger ones.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the younger ones are either Matt Smith or
David Tennant.
Yeah, or David Tennant fans.
Yeah, not enough people pay attention to Chris Eccleston.
Yeah,
I regret that. I regret that. But he did not get a fair shake on the show. But
no,
he did a damn good job, and I'm glad that he has come back to do the audio,
Finish?
the Big Finish audios.
Did you hear Peter Capaldi got fired from Big Finish?
No. Why?
Something he said on one of the British talk shows about how doing audio and podcast were so boring.
That was
they probably are to him, but there are people that love and live for that stuff.
Yeah, really. There's an entire fandom that won't watch the televised stuff because they love the audio so much.
Yeah.
how and I've got to admit that I've been a long time Doctor Who fan. The first one I ever saw was Tom Baker, of course, because it was the right era, mid-70s. And then when I had got a chance to see some of the later stuff, I became an instant fan of Patrick Troughton. And it's just like, oh, you know, William Hartnell did some great stuff. Pertwee did some fantastic stuff, but something about Troughton just appealed to me as like, oh, this guy has got it all down. He's pretending to be an idiot, and then everybody underestimates me, and he turns the tables on them. And then it came up through all the rest of the doctors. Peter Davison was so much fun, but he had so many companions that his part in the script was kind of lessened a bit. And then Colin Baker got screwed royally until he got with Big Finish and was able to show people what he could do.
Yeah.
And that was almost like the modern era where the scripts were not up to par. And then Sylvester McCoy came along and the scripts were slightly better, but then there was also some let's just say not worthy of his talent.
Yeah.
And then the hiatus, and then Paul McGann came along with the movie, and that was just so utterly amazing, as well as being so utterly corny sometimes because it had been Americanized, which was barely forgivable. But you know, they had to have a budget from somewhere. And then here we go with Eccleston coming back for his one season, and I somewhere in the back of my mind I remember that he apparently I remember that he was going, I'm only going to do it for one season before we ever saw the first episode, and then everything kind of progressed, and now we've got Jodie is in the latest in a long string of successes, and she got crappy scripts as well. I mean, I would love to see her with some really, really good scripts going, because she's got talent.
Oh,
Everything
yeah.
else I've seen her in, it's like somebody's holding her back, and I wish that never happened. But here we go. We got one more season left, and then we'll have to have a new showrunner and a new doctor, because they're leaving together.
Yeah.
I found out what he said here.
Oh, okay.
This is from the giantfreakingrobot.com.
Okay.
During the interview, Capaldi mentioned that he'd like to be a DJ. Then he was asked if he's ever worked in radio. And the actor says, I've done radio plays, and what he says about them isn't very complimented. Capaldi says making them is quite dreary, and they're made in the basement of the BBC with all the pipes and stuff. He goes on to call it an absolutely glamour-free zone. And it says, gives a link to the actual interview.
Mm-hmm.
And said if Capaldi's comments about the BBC's unglamorous basement had anything to do with about being replaced on Time Jacked is the story.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't help things appearing on Sunday with Stephen Rainley last Sunday when he said he had no interest in doing any more Doctor Who stories, which he appears alongside other doctors from past and present. Clarified he loved his time as the Doctor. He explained that he thought more multi-Doctor stories that were made, the less effective they are.
Well, I've got to disagree with that myself.
Yeah. Pretty much he just
He just shot himself in the foot, basically.
with a 50 cal.
Yeah.
The 60th is coming up soon, so
Yeah, well, we know he won't be in it.
Well,
yeah. Well, maybe they'll pull a Tom Baker and pull some old footage out of something that didn't get broadcast.
Mm.
who knows?
Something
He
from the
might
cutout
make
bin.
He might.
Now,
make
I
that
will tell you, the Doctor, the Tom Baker appearance in the 50th anniversary special,
Hmm.
man, I almost cried.
Oh, I did. I'm
It was
not
like,
ashamed to admit it. So as soon as I heard that voice,
Yeah. Well, the the first time I remember when I was real little, flipping channels, well, turning the knob actually, because it was pre-remote control for ours TVs. But I remember seeing Doctor Who, and it was in the middle of one, so I didn't know what the crap was going on. And I remember seeing Tom Baker with his scarf and his overcoat and his hat, and I wasn't used to British television, so it was just really confusing and weird for me. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to change the channel.
now,
And I was too young to appreciate it because I might have been 8 at the time, maybe.
yeah, about the same here. Eight to 11, somewhere.
If I'd
Um,
caught the beginning of the show, I probably would have tracked a little bit better of it. It was just weird, and I'm like, I don't know what this is.
yeah, I tried to keep watching it, and from what I gathered from it, it was, of course, it was the Tom Bakers.
Mm-hmm.
It almost came off to me as like Quantum Leap. It
Mm-hmm.
became
mm-hmm.
that every time they got into the TARDIS to go somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
the TARDIS took them where it wanted to go,
Yeah.
Yeah,
not where they wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
it took
As
them where
the
they needed to be, not where they wanted to be.
yeah, and the later shows, the Doctor started taking them where he wanted to show them.
Yeah.
So that was the confusing part to me.
Yeah.
Hmm. Now,
I'm
my
still.
first experience was in the back pages of Eerie and Creepy magazine. They
Mhm.
had advertisements for the 10-book Pinnacle paperback series, which was a mix of John Pertwee stories
Mhm.
and Tom Baker stories. But the way they did the advertising for it, it looked like, I mean, they had pictures of all the doctors up at time. It looked like, oh my God, this guy's getting younger every year.
Mhm.
And well, that's something that kind of keep going with the development of the stuff as it went by. But you only had these 10 books, and
Yeah.
this was before the BBC started putting them out. This was before Virgin started putting them out. So you only had these 10 Pinnacle books,
Mhm.
and I got all 10, and I just devoured them, and then I got to see an episode,
Mhm.
and then later on, uh, the guy that is now the executive producer for Atlanta Radio Theater Company
Mhm.
was coming to University of Georgia and showing us videos
Mhm.
of Tom Baker, and occasionally he'd have some Pertwee stuff, and then he was also showing us Blake Seven, because it was still in production, and he was a really big Blake Seven fan at the time, and I got to where even after college, I would ride up to Atlanta on my motorcycle and go visit on a weekend and sit there in his living room and go through his entire collection of Doctor Who and Blake Seven and Red Dwarf and everything else that he had. And it's like, it was a complete education into British television that I could not get from public broadcasting, which was the
Mhm.
only other way that I could ever see this stuff. And
I'm gonna bow out, guys. I've been up since 5:30.
ooh,
I haven't been
your,
up quite that long, but that's
your
probably
batteries must be running low.
Yeah, batteries are running low. I'm not going to even attempt to try to write up our agenda for tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, Josh, if you're interested, you're more than welcome to come to our staff meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. at the hotel down in Dalton. Um, you know, if nothing else, just come down, hang out, sort of see what we do.
Yeah.
Um,
And
but
if you can't be there at 2, that's fine.
that's fine. If you can't
We're
come,
happy
we
to help.
understand. But it's an open invitation to you, Josh. But I'm going to tap out because I got a couple things I need to do before I go to bed. And Chris, if you would call me about 10 o'clock tomorrow morning,
Okay.
so I make sure I'm up and
Yeah.
get started on the agenda. And I'll go ahead and print everything out.
Yep. All
All
righty.
right. All right.
Good night, Joe.
Good night, Joe.
All
Always
right.
a pleasure.
All right.
And thank you for giving me this boost to having my own show.
I am. I'm happy. I'm happy
Yep.
for you.
And
Now
I'm
if I
been
get
trying to
some of
support you.
now if I can get some of the rest of them to step up and do their own shows.
Yeah, well, miracles happen.
Josh, get you some sleep, but you can. Like I said, you're more than welcome to come to the staff meeting tomorrow. We'd be happy to have you.
Yeah. All right. Good night, guys.
Good night, Joe.
Night, Joe.
Good night, Josh.
Well, I don't know how
Dan,
much.
what are the? They're not Daleks. They're. I want to say they're kind of robots that are silver with maybe red eye areas in Doctor Who universe.
Are they man shaped or are they?
They're sort of humanoid robot.
Probably the Cybermen.
What is your problem, cat? You better behave.
Okay, was it from a later Tom Baker story though?
I think so because I think that was the
Movilians.
episode that I came. Like I said, they weren't Daleks, but they were. They looked like they were.
Were
hostile.
they fighting Daleks and they had dreadlocks?
No, these were completely silver. They kind of had a robotic look to them, and maybe
that would have been the Cybermen. Yep.
Okay.
They're almost as old as the Daleks is in show terms.
Mm-hmm.
They're not robots. They're cybernetic, and basically inside those suits is bits and pieces of a person that has been augmented with mechanical parts and had all their emotions removed because those are counterproductive to conquering the universe. You can't conquer the universe if you feel sorry for the people you're trying to victimize. So
yes,
they are one of the well, let's see, Daleks, Cybermen, and I can't remember what the closest third villain would have been for the classic, but they certainly do reappear the most often after Daleks.
I don't know that they were the in that first episode that I saw, but I know I turned across it again another time, and I think that might have been in it. I'm pretty sure they were in color, but they seemed like they were early color, if you know what I'm talking about, because they
looks
had
more like videotape than anything else.
Yeah, and like I said, it was kind of piquing my interest, but there was something that was coming on that I wanted to see. And like I said, again, I was going through the channels, and that was what I was curious about.
Well, if you can remember any of the plot points, I could probably tell you which story it was.
That's just it. I just remember them. Several of them grouped together looked like they were looking about causing some destruction or damage. It's almost like they were consulting each other.
Yeah.
And like it's just a little brief memory I had because, like I said, I was trying to get to the other show that I was wanting to watch at the time, which I don't remember. I just remember I was wanting to watch it. It was probably a comedy because I love comedies. And,
Oh, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and I love screwball comedies.
Mm.
You know, Airplane. There's a movie I love called A Man Called Sarge. It's a spoof of World War II movies.
Mm-hmm.
It actually has Mark Singer in it where he plays a Nazi.
Oh, wow.
And there is a British element that gets lost and Americans that are fighting as the French Foreign Legion because the hero of this is an American guy that just wants to kill some people.
Okay.
And it's got Dan LaFontaine narrating the thing.
Okay.
Absolutely screwball hilarious. And there is a girl who's kind of a Casablanca type character with a hat and everything.
Yeah.
And her name's Sadie Hawkins.
Okay.
Oh, Dad, you need to watch that. You will have so much fun with it.
Oh, that's one of the things that I've got a weakness for, actually, is the screwball comedies. My wife and I just absolutely love all the Thin Man movies, and then there's Bringing Up Baby with I think it's Cary Grant, and I should remember the actress's name. She's world famous.
Doris Day.
No. This is the one that involves
I'm thinking
a lion.
I'm sorry.
This is the one that involves the baby is a lion, and it's basically her pet, or becomes her pet. I forget exactly how it goes. It's been a long time. And then you've got things like Daddy Longlegs with oh Lord, I can't even go into all this stuff. Believe me, my brain is flooded with memories right now. There's so many names that are trying to displace each other. But
Josh, we talked computers so much we didn't talk about a whole lot else after we started getting on that. If you know how she is about computers, which I discovered. I kind of walked into that one, but I was having so much fun discussing it with her earlier today. It was hilarious.
Is that this comment here?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
but, some other movies along those lines are the Hot Shots movies.
Yeah.
There was a movie called Top Secret.
I was just about to mention that one to you.
I mean, that was awesome because it had Peter Cushing in a small role. And had Val Kilmer right before he was really becoming famous from Top Gun and other stuff.
What was the song from that? Skeet Surfing?
Yeah. If everybody had a 12 gauge and a surfboard too. Oh, it was so funny.
Oh man.
Stupid.
I don't know how many of the old beach blanket movies that you watched from the 50s, but some of those are just so over the top. It was just like, okay, I get it.
I didn't watch that many, but I watched Return to the Beach that had Frankie
Avalon
and Annette
Funicello. Yeah,
that was actually enjoyable.
Yeah, that was the standard headliners for those things, and they might have changed the names of the characters time and time again. But
Yeah.
it was still the basic two characters, and
Yeah.
there's all kinds of neat stuff that went on there. Boris Karloff was in one of them.
Mhm.
Ghost in the
Oh,
Invisible Bikini.
Omar Sharif was actually in Top Secret
Yeah,
at the beginning of the film. I'm like, y'all got Omar Sharif in this? And,
yeah,
and,
well,
and I love the play on the code names for the French underground.
yeah, yep.
Détente, escargot, soufflé, latrine, and chocolate mousse.
Yeah, but that one was meant to be played for
Oh,
laughs.
I
So
know. I
it
had
was
so much
it was it
fun.
was so much fun. It really was.
I mean, it's sort of like the old Joey Suzu commercials.
Yeah.
I mean, they
It
were so over the top, but it was hilarious.
because it was played seriously.
Oh yes, and David Leisure was awesome at that.
Oh yeah, yeah. The man should have been able to parlay that into even more than what he did. There
Well,
was some missed opportunities there for
you know
want of a really good script writer.
they revived the advertising campaign later on, but they were even so much more over the top. It it was almost too much, and it's hard to believe saying that with Joey Suzu.
Hmm.
But the one where he was riding on the beach with his shirt open, his chest hairs poking out, just trying to make it like some cologne commercial or something like that. I'm just like, this is totally wrong for this. I mean, it was funny, but it's like, it didn't quite have the same charm as the other stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, sometimes things can go a step too far.
Yeah. And, well, of course, there's the old Happy Days jumping the shark.
Yep, I remember it well. Yep, I was
And
I was actually watching it when it was first run.
and the when Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull came out,
Hmm.
I I came up with a new term: nuking the fridge.
Duke in the yeah. Um,
I found that a little bit. I know it's supposed to be lead lined and all that, but I just like this is pushing the limits.
yeah. Um, Credulity kind of took a back door to that. Yep, but
And I'm willing to. I love science fiction and all the stuff, but Mission Impossible 2, when that helicopter was in that tunnel. I mean, I'm not a physics major, but even I know when something is totally unbelievable. And
hmm
I'm like, there's no way this helicopter would have survived even that much intact. And granted, it wasn't 100% intact. The way, the angles it was, I'm like, I'm not even a physics major or great at math, but even I can tell that angle is not going to survive.
no, 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 not at all. I've got to run off to the restroom. I'll be right back.
Okay,
You want me to play a commercial or something?
you can.
Okay. Let me get down here to the brand thing. One of these days, I got to do a voiceover for one of these, but they keep changing everything. So I'm gonna just have to generalize the voiceover so I can
Okay,
fix the schedule anytime I want and not
that
have to
makes sense.
redo so much shit. All right. I don't know if this will take over everything or not, but
Well, if it
I'll be
not,
I'll be back in about 2 minutes. just in time.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yeah. I suppose it's about time I started putting my 10th album together because I keep writing stuff like that, and there's nothing on Bandcamp with it on there yet. So,
Josh, yes, she is a computer whiz, and I learned a few things. And I'm by no means expert, but I'm ahead of the curve of a lot of people that she works with because I have built actual computers from parts. So,
yeah, I had to give that up myself. I couldn't. It got to the point where it was more trouble once you had all the parts together to get all the stuff on the motherboard work to talk to each other and communicate, and then you can go as far as upload or installing an operating system.
yeah.
I mean, it's like, if you're gonna make it this hard, I'll just buy some from the damn store that work when I plug it in.
Well, since they started adding motherboard plates to the cases, it's made it a whole lot easier to once you get it mounted. And if you do the right connections first, and for God's sakes, make sure you ground yourself before you get started on that, or you're going to have a very expensive paperweight.
Yep.
That's one of the things we were discussing, Josh, was me building a new computer. And she was offering suggestions, and because I was asking her about some stuff. And so hopefully that happens before the year's over with.
Well, one other thing you got to be careful of is where you order the parts from, because there was one computer that a friend of mine who builds computers for a living, he came down here and was helping me put the thing together, and it's like we ordered a power supply, and we ordered the motherboard, and we ordered the chip and everything else, and about half the stuff we ordered didn't work out of the box. The power supply was dead when we opened it. It was brand new, but it was dead. It took it. We had to go through 3 power supplies before we found one that actually worked. And the motherboard was okay, but the chipset that we bought, I had to get 2 of those before one actually worked. Yeah. They're not cheap either.
No, and you want to apply a thermal paste of some sort to help it.
Like I said, this guy builds them for a living. It's like, it's not my fault, man. It's the parts. And this went on for a couple of weeks, and we finally got the darn thing to work. And then a couple of years later, that particular one died, and I tried building one by myself, and I'm going, I can't even get through the BIOS on this thing. I'm just going to go down to Office Depot and buy whatever they've got on sale.
Yeah, if I do build this one, this will be the 3rd one that I built.
Well, this would, for me, the one that I could not make work by myself would have been about the 7th.
Yeah.
So, but I am slightly older, so.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is, depending on how much time I have and how much patience I have at the time, that affects a lot of it. And
patience is the limited resource here.
Yeah. There's times where I have a pretty good bit of it, and there's times where I hardly have any. And I try to be cognizant of which time is which when I'm going through something or trying to get something accomplished. So I know to either cut myself some slack or just keep plodding away, and the heck with it, it'll get done.
Yep. And then there's always the option of going, this is not going well, I need to reschedule.
Yeah. I mean, there's times where I've set it aside.
That's the one where you really hate to do that.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's an experience, Josh, and the times that I've had it, if you're a fan of Maximum PC, they usually put out a how to build a computer issue once every, maybe 18 months to 2 years. And it's really good to have pictures and typeset to let you know what you need to be doing so you can reference it to make sure you don't screw it up.
Yep. One thing that I found handy when I was merely upgrading something that had already worked but had just gotten a little bit old, I would take my camera, usually my cell phone, and when I had everything opened up, I'd take pictures of where the wires connected, and go ahead and print those out, and then start taking stuff apart and trying to put the new stuff in there just to make sure I got every wire back where it was supposed to go and didn't forget and leave one of them dangling or something.
Yeah. But I'm very particular about the power supplies I buy. I try and buy gold or platinum rated power supplies. And granted, you can get a lemon in anything.
I know, and it's not really anybody's fault except whoever was on the production line that day.
Yep. And it's just like with any vehicle. You might have a particular brand and a particular make and model, and one that comes out one week is a cream puff. There's nothing wrong with it. It's almost perfect. Pretty much flawless. You could have one come out 3 days later off the assembly line, and nothing seems to be going right with it.
Yeah, I used to say that about cars.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, cars.
I bought a couple of lemons at one time, and I go, okay, this one was either assembled on Friday afternoon just before quitting time, or Monday morning when everybody with a hangover was just starting up.
Yeah.
If you can get one that was done on Wednesday, you probably got a good car.
Oh yeah, most definitely. But yeah, Dan, screwball comedies have been a love of mine for a long time because.
Are you familiar with the Thin Man movies?
No, but and I haven't seen all of it, but there was one I think there was a little bit of a screwball comedy that had Tom Hanks in it. I believe it's called The Man with One Red Shoe.
Yes. Now the Thin Man is stuff from back in the 40s and 50s. So they don't come in color unless somebody's been playing with it. They're all black and white. But it's William Powell and Myrna Loy, and they played off each other so well.
And I will tell you, one of my first screwball comedies that I loved, it was definitely done in black and white, is No Time for Sergeants.
Yes,
which
with
I believe,
Andy Griffith.
Yeah, and I believe Gomer Pyle was loosely based off that.
Partly, yeah. Actually, there were two versions of that, just like there were two versions of Mr. Roberts. But I vaguely remember seeing a version of No Time for Sergeants that Andy Griffith was not in, but I can't remember who was.
Yeah. Well, the one that was the sergeant on Gomer Pyle MC, I think, was in No Time for Sergeants. And I still crack up when I hear PLO. And it's not Yasser Arafat's organization. It's Permanent Latrine Orderly.
Salute.
I about fell out of my chair, Dan.
I imagine everybody did, because nobody ever thought that was even humanly possible to engineer something like that.
I'm sure they had some really thin, invisible line or wire or something, but oh man, it was so funny the first time you see it.
Well, the actual in context at the time way to do it would have been compressed air and a foot pedal for him
Yep.
to stomp on and just,
Yep. And of course, he had the
thump,
broom or
thump, yeah,
mop where it made the thump, so it would have covered it up.
yeah. Oh
Oh,
my goodness.
and Stripes. I love Stripes.
Hmm. I was just about to mention that. That's a modern day version of the same sort of thing.
Hmm.
Shut up, Francis.
And it had such a great cast in it.
Well, yeah,
I mean, John Larroquette.
yeah,
It actually had one of the. You remember the Newhart show, the
hmm,
'80s one with the
yeah.
M? It actually had one of the Darrell brothers in it. He was the assistant to John Larroquette's character.
Hmm.
He was skinnier at the time.
You started to call him Dan Fielding, didn't you?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
almost called him Dan Larroquette too. Getting my characters. And speaking of John Larroquette, um, I loved him in Baba Black Sheep.
I almost forgot he was in there. That was one of his few non-comedic roles, too.
Yeah, and Ed Begley Jr. was another one of the
Yeah,
pilots in it.
but he swaps out between comedy and serious
Yeah.
extraordinarily well, and quite often.
And I believe John Larroquette narrated the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre film.
Now that I do not know. You'd have to ask Joe. He's the expert on horror movies. No,
Skunk
ask
would be the one
ask
to ask.
Skunk. Yeah, ask Skunk because he would probably know right off the top of his head without him having to look it up.
But I believe I read somewhere that he did narrate it. Oh, speaking of screwball comedies, it's a little more realistic. Are you familiar with the Summer School with Mark Harmon?
No, not at all.
Oh, that is hilarious. It's got Carl Reiner in it.
Oh, okay.
Mark Harmon, Kirstie Alley, Courtney Thorne Smith. She was one of those pretty blonde actresses. I think she eventually wound up on Melrose Place. And it had two kids that were absolutely obsessed with horror movies.
Hmm.
So Skunk would have loved it. He's probably seen it.
He'd probably
And
seen it. He probably got it in his collection. Yeah.
And Texas Chainsaw Massacre was their favorite movie. And one of the guys' nicknames was Chainsaw.
Oh Lord.
And it's such a funny screwball comedy. And basically, Mark Harmon was going to go on vacation to Hawaii, and Carl Reiner was going to teach summer school, but he won the lottery. So he basically told them to go screw themselves.
Hmm.
And Mark Harmon was trying to get out of there, and either the principal or the vice principal cornered him and was like, "You're teaching summer school this year." So his girlfriend went to Hawaii without him, and he was stuck there having to teach summer school.
Oh, and given the regular school screwball comedy treatment, excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
drinking beer too fast.
Yeah.
She probably did not come back as his girlfriend, but attached to some surfer dude that she met.
Yeah. And anyway,
why does this sound like a plot of a Gamera movie?
Well, the thing is, Dan, he had to bribe the students to get them to learn.
Well,
so he had to make a deal to do something for each one of them. And like I said, it's part of the story. I won't tell any more to you, but you've got to watch it sometime.
Hey, ain't no telling what I'll watch. Dude, I just got a bunch of recommendations from Netflix, and I'm going, yeah, that looks okay. That looks okay. That's a series I don't know if I want to devote that much time to it because it's going to take, there's 16 episodes. It'll take me a week.
Yeah.
And,
Are Are you familiar with Babylon 5?
Dude, I actually know that the pilot movie they originally showed before the series started had the soundtrack written by the drummer for the Police rather than using
Stuart Copeland.
Yes, indeed.
As
And
opposed to the guy
classical.
from Tangerine Dream.
Yep. Yeah.
Christopher Franke.
And I had recorded the darn thing on VHS and watched it over and over again. And I knew from the get-go that when Deep Space Nine came out, it was because the script for Babylon 5 had been submitted to Paramount, and they decided, oh, well, yeah, it's not our cup of tea. You go ahead and do what you want with it. And then here, within 6 months, they came out with their own space station-oriented show, but Star Trek. Yeah. And Straczynski was very, very careful not to say they stole my idea, but the evidence was in they stole his idea.
Yeah. The pilot episode actually had the gal that was Daniel's love interest in Karate Kid Part 2 as the station commander, not Sinclair, but the one right as deputy, and she was eventually replaced with Claudia Christian, who did Suzanne Ivanova.
And I remember her from The Hidden. From before.
When she steps out of that car, I mean, that's one of those scenes that sticks in your head.
Yeah, that's like the Fabulous Baker Boys with Michelle Pfeiffer squirming on the piano.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Or Tawny Katane all over the Jaguar and Whitesnake's here video.
Yeah, although I really liked the part that she did in
she was on the party, but it was Monique Gabrielle that was the one that was topless.
No, I was thinking of MTV video for a comedian, Sam Kinison.
Well, Jessica Hahn was in that video as well for Wild Thing. And one of Tawny's original movies where she showed some skin was called The Perils of Pauline, which I think was based on a serial from the 30s or.
Yep, 30s or 40s, I do believe. Might have been 20s or 30s. I'm not sure. Depends on how far back the Wayback Machine can go. Now, sorry, whatever it was I was trying to dredge up is not coming into my poor brain, so I'm not going to be.
My brain's shooting all over the place like a pinball machine. Do you remember the movie Hot Dog? The movie?
No, I don't.
Basically, a comedy, which was set on a ski resort. It's basically like.
Is that the one that looked like it was an episode of Scooby-Doo, but it was live action?
I don't know. There were a couple movies along that lines, but it had David Naughton from who sang the song "Making It," and he was on whatever show that was. It was it had the gal from Saturday Night Fever, Donna Pascal.
Okay.
I can't think of the name of it. But anyway, he also sang the jingle, I'm a pepper, she's a pepper, wouldn't you like to be a pepper too? And of course, he was in American Werewolf in London, which Skunk will know right off the bat.
Yep. I remember when that was brand new.
I will put it to you this way. Hot Dog the movie is not for minors.
Okay.
It there was some skin in it, and it had former Playmate of the Year Shannon Tweed, who is the mother of Gene Simmons' children.
So it was particularly adorable skin.
Yes, she has very nice skin.
Mm.
But it was cool because it was kind of a sophomore humor. Think of it as Up the Creek on ski slopes.
Okay.
If you're
Yep.
familiar with Up the Creek.
Yep. Yep. Just barely, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That's another movie that's screwball comedy that I love.
Oh yeah. Oh
Animal
Lord.
House, of course.
Yeah, that was almost filmed here at the University of Georgia, but
Yeah.
they wouldn't sign the contract, so they had to go someplace else.
Yeah.
And I always thought, well, you missed a chance to have some really, really free extras that would
Mm-hmm.
fit in with the theme quite well.
Yeah, we have some lovely, lovely ladies there at University of Georgia in Athens area.
Always have.
Yep.
Actually, there was not a playmate, but I think she was one of the girls of the what's the football thing around here? The Southeastern Conference. Yeah.
Yeah, they used to do the
Girls of the Pac-10, girls of the SEC, girls of this and that.
ACC. Yep.
Yep.
And
Now, a buddy of mine from the Science Fiction Club over at the University of Georgia
mm-hmm.
was into doing stop motion animation.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked permission to use my apartment and my backyard and some part of my sword collection
Mm-hmm.
for a mix of stop motion animation and live action. And he got Tawny Katane, who was a University of Georgia student at the time, to be part of the live action sequence in a filmy nightgown playing a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
And it also involved a stop motion flying saucer and let's see, something that looked pretty much like it was Invasion of the Eye Creatures ripoff and something like that. But
did it sort of have a Harry
yeah, it was
say his name. But
Ray Harryhausen School of he was very much into Ray Harryhausen. But the entire student film took place either in my apartment or in my backyard. And I was at work, so I didn't get a chance to meet the young lady. But from what I saw of the footage later on, she developed into a quite admirable young lady.
Yeah.
So
she was definitely eye candy for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, and wasn't she in the America's Funniest Home Videos for a while as one of the co-hosts?
Maybe, I'm not sure.
I think that might have been before the Bob Saget years, but it might have been during the Bob Saget years.
Yeah. I do know that used to Sirius XM would do their free preview weekends and stuff like that. I know one time they had her on Hair Nation and she was telling all sorts of stories from back LA in the 80s and stuff like that. And I'm sure she had plenty of stories to tell. I didn't get to hear all of them, but I remember hearing some of them. And, I hate it that she died so young, but she lived life. I mean, she was married to David Coverdale Whitesnake for a while. She was involved with O.J. Simpson briefly, and
thankfully, briefly.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, various other guys that she's dated over the years. And
Well, everybody's got a right to have a life.
I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, when she was alive, she lived and she had stories to tell, and that's that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to live and have stories to tell.
Yep. Lord knows I've got a few myself. Some of them will not appear until after my demise.
Yep.
And even then, the names will have to be changed to protect the innocent.
The guilty and the collateral damage.
Believe me, there's things. Oh, there's things that are going to go to my grave. Believe me, because I can't. Yeah, there are children that would be horrified to find out that their parents had got up to stuff like that. So, dude, I remember one time, and this is got nothing to do with my personal life, but one time I was at a party at the University of Georgia at an old house in the middle of town, and the bands were really, really good. The kegs were really, really cold, and there was a lot of people standing on the front porch, and dancing and all this other stuff. And all of a sudden, we heard the porch go, just kind of groan. And people told us, maybe we ought to get off the porch here. I mean, there's a lot of people. There's like 100 people on the front porch, and that lasted for about half an hour. And then the next time we heard a noise at my feet, like the Red Sea parting, the entire porch collapsed, except for the part I was standing on. And I did my best Spider-Man and was up against the wall, kind of clung in midair to keep from falling into this hole. It showed up in the Red and Black and the Athens Journal Herald. The photograph was a mailman walking up to this house that had a collapsed porch, trying to deliver the mail to a mailbox that was like 8 feet of inaccessible space away from where he was standing. And I'm going, oh, that's going to be one of those stories that gets told over and over again. I think one of my art professors had a show of his artwork. It was very abstract. What he would do, he'd just throw gobs and gobs of acrylic paint at these 6 by 6 foot canvases, and then put them in a shower, and let the water gently wash away the excess paint, but leave the color behind, soaked into the canvas, and dry it out, put it. And I thought I wouldn't like this, and I went and looked at it. It might as well have been Jackson Pollock. It was. I wouldn't have thought that I would like it, but the way the colors blended and everything, it was absolutely great. And it turns out, when he did his show, there were various members of REM and the B-52s and a couple of other bands that you might know that were doing the music for his show. And they had this thing where they were doing completely randomized music. So they had sets of dice, and they had a couple of packs of cards, and they would roll the dice and flip a card, and on the determination of those numbers that came out, they would change the setting on a synthesizer that was feeding into a guitar that was standing in front of an amplifier, so that you had all this feedback coming out. And it was modulated through the synth so that it wasn't overpowering or shrieking or anything, but it actually turned into random music.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and it was all down to dice throws and card flips, and it was really excellent. At times it was kind of goofy, but then there were certain times when the dice would roll the right way and the cards would flip the right way, and it actually became accidentally melodic. But here's these folks. Now, I never did actually get to meet any of the people from the B-52s, but there were some folks from REM sitting there doing the work. Never actually got to speak to them because I was a lowly student and they were world famous by then. But you know, it was a fun time.
Oh yeah. Well, Georgia's got a pretty rich music history. I mean,
yeah.
between the Athens music scene and the Atlanta music scene and the Macon music scene.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you a weird coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
Guy that I sat next to in high school playing trumpet, and then a couple of years later, we were both asked to play French horn because we didn't have enough of the lower brass in the band, and everybody and their brother played trumpet. But he went on to be working in studios mixing stuff, and went on to be live mixing for various concerts. He's worked with the Indigo Girls, Waylon Jennings. God, I couldn't even go through an entire list. He's got pictures of him standing next to and shaking hands with the guitar player from Led Zeppelin.
Jimmy Page.
Yeah, no, Jimmy Page would. Yeah, Jimmy Page. Yeah, for a minute there, I was about to correct you and try and remember the lead singer's name, but no, you're exactly right, Jimmy Page. Just tons and tons of different people, and this is a guy I knew in high school. He lives like 3 miles away from me, 4 miles away from me at the most.
I mean, that's fascinating that somebody gets to experience stuff like that at that level.
He has worked with some of the greatest musicians on the planet. Sitting at a mixing board, making sure they sound their best. And he has worked live in lots of clubs. And he will be the first to tell you that if the band pissed him off, he knew exactly which slider went from good to you suck. in a concert venue. So, and he says he tried not to use the suck setting that often, but some people just drove him to it.
Oh yeah, there's some that can be real jerks. But my cousin I was telling you about last weekend, he loves the Allman Brothers. I like them a lot too, but not as much as he does. Because he's like a real fan. I mean, Dwayne Allman and
Dickie Betts
and Warren Haynes. He loves Warren. He thinks Warren Haynes is one of the best guitarists around. And I think I posted a link to that video that I told you was filmed at the Fox in Atlanta with Tedeschi Trucks when they did Midnight in Harlem.
Yeah, I watched that. It was wonderful.
I mean, just the whole song to me is the arrangement, the layers of music, instruments in it. I mean, it's one of those things that just
bring it all together. People get it right. People get it right, and people that are listening don't realize how much work went into getting to the point to where you get up there, you play it, it's exactly what you need it to be. It's an awful lot of work.
And some friends give me a hard time because I'm a huge Journey fan. And some of their stuff is simple, but the layering and the arrangements of that stuff makes the songs better than the whole of their
better than the sum of their parts.
Yeah, the sum of their parts as a whole.
Yeah, I'm most familiar with them from 90s MTV.
Yeah,
I never saw them live, but I did see a whole lot of music videos they did for about 5 years.
Yeah.
So a lot of their catalog got wound up on MTV while it was still playing music.
I know. I used to love MTV, and then reality show television ruined Western civilization as we know it.
Yeah.
You know, the Real World and Road Rules were cool the first few seasons, but eventually it got old and they started adding more shows. And I'm like, I watch MTV to see new music, see old music, to watch videos, and
You're showing me wrestling, which
yeah,
is
well, it
okay,
wasn't
but
even
it's
wrestling.
not got anything to do with MTV.
You know, I enjoyed Pimp My Ride and a few other things, but like I said, it just started getting where they were showing less and less music, and I'm like, you don't even deserve to be called MTV anymore because you're not playing enough music to be called it.
Well, all of the music video channels devolved at the same rate.
Well,
By the
the thing,
by the
VH1
time
lasted.
MTV wasn't playing videos anymore, nobody else was either.
Well, VH1 lasted a little bit longer but they started doing behind the music, and then
Hmm.
they started doing the other.
Hmm.
You know, I liked behind the music, but when it was all they showed, like,
Yep.
look, I like the show, but you need to show me something else. And
Yep. What are they doing now? That's what I wanted to know. What are they doing? What's, you know, show me what they're going to be on the radio next week. Okay.
you know, back in the early days of MTV, they would show concerts on Sunday nights from the Westwood One Radio Network.
Hmm.
You had Total Request Live. Before that, it was Top 10. And they basically had to change the rules because Motley Crue's Home Sweet Home was number one for so long. And I don't know if you remember, but when Motley Crue came out with You're All I Need,
Hmm.
they wouldn't show it until after 10 o'clock because the material was so controversial. And
Oh,
the ironic thing about that video is what was so controversial now, or back then, is kind of commonplace now compared to a lot of stuff.
yeah.
And the thing that got me about that song is it had such a beautiful melody, but the subject matter was so dark
Hmm.
and creepy. And I thought the
There were
dichotomy of the two things were it was
there were a lot of things like that we didn't think of at the time, but then later on, when we actually found out the real world history that was the backstory
mm-hmm.
behind what that was inspired by was really disturbing.
And the amazing thing about it is Motley Crue were so addicted to drugs at that time.
Hmm.
I mean, Nikki Sixx is a great writer, and he's got a little touch of musical genius to him, but he had such addiction issues. They had to stop the tours. Like they were about to go do a world tour, their world tour in Europe, and somebody told them, said, "You can't send them to Europe. If you do, they will die."
Yep.
And Nikki Sixx actually died. They injected adrenaline into his heart to get him resuscitated. That's one of the things for his band, 6 a.m., the Heroin Diaries, because he was shooting up, he was addicted, and it was
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you get this little bit of success and you start partying a little harder. You get a little more success and you start partying a whole lot harder, and then all of a sudden your success is kind of evaporating because you're partying too hard.
well. Also, you get strung out from the constant touring and the trying to produce albums and make another successful thing,
Hmm.
and you can't go, and somebody gives you a gateway drug to make you escape the pain, the misery, the pressure, and all that stuff. And then you have these enablers that get you the stuff that you need to keep going once you get addicted to it.
Yeah,
And it's just a vicious cycle that's hard to break.
yeah. In some cases, it was impossible before they died. Yeah, there's so many people we lost because of that shit.
Oh
And
yeah.
so, now, and look at all the people we lost because they got on a helicopter at the wrong time.
Yep.
And then drugs are so much worse
Yeah.
because
Well, a helicopter is a short trip. The drugs are a whole lot longer and strung
yeah,
out.
a whole lot longer and a whole lot worse.
Yep.
Um,
Well, it's
uh,
like Steve Clark of Def Leppard. I mean, he basically drank himself to death.
Yep. And it could be very, very easy to do, really.
Yep.
And then again, you're going, there's a lot of stress involved in all this stuff. And you've got all these record company execs going, okay, write us another one of these. And you don't have another one of those in you right then. But they want success on demand.
Yeah. And the sad thing is, out of the tragedy comes some truly remarkable songs.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have Def Leppard's own White Lightning, which was it's a song that's too long to be played on radio, but it has outtakes of stuff that he played that they put together, and Phil Collins did a remarkable job of trying to play his parts the way Steve Clark would have done it. And then you have Tesla's song in Emotion that was also written in honor of Steve Clark, the guitarist that died. And ironically, the thing was Phil Collins replaced the original guitarist that was kicked out of the band because he was drinking too much.
Yeah.
And then you have other stories where they got kicked out of the band for drinking too much and went on to have successful careers. Dave Mustaine got kicked out of Metallica for drinking too much. And of course, it fueled his fire, and he formed Megadeth, and
Well, Lemmy got kicked out of Hawkwind.
Yep.
And formed Motorhead.
Yep.
To great success. Well, it was history before, but it's even more history after that.
Yep.
And then we wound up losing the man anyway. And look at Alice Cooper. There are at least 3, maybe 4 albums that Alice freely admits that he was drinking so much he didn't even remember writing or recording the songs. And they were some of the best albums from that period. But he did better stuff later after he got cleaned up and quit drinking. And,
another example was, again, this is ironic, Zakk Wylde getting kicked out of Ozzy Osbourne's band because he drank too damn much.
Yeah, really. Imagine that. Ozzy firing somebody for being fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about irony of ironies.
Yeah, really. And
and the funny thing is, you look at Zakk when he first started out, you see the video for Mama, I'm Coming Home, and he's doing his guitar solo in it. He's skinny and scrawny and got long hair. And then you see him now, which with his band, he's big, muscular, huge, got a goatee, long hair, and it's just like, what the hell happened?
Recovery.
Yeah.
That's what happened, recovery. If you've got a bad habit, you need to replace it with a good one. And exercise and healthy living is a really good replacement for alcoholism and illegal substances. So,
well, I remember somebody interviewing Howard Leese, And for those who don't know who Howard Leese is, he was guitarist for Heart during their most successful period. And I think he left the band in the late 90s. Well, he played guitar for Paul Rogers of Free and
Yep.
Bad Company fame.
Yep.
And somebody asked him, was like, okay, you're a pretty remarkable guitarist, but you have played with two of the best voices in rock music. How, and wanted them to expand on that. And I'm thinking, yeah, Paul Rogers and Ann Wilson, that's pretty damn powerful combo of people to sing with or play with.
Yeah, and all of these bands, they had the spark, they had the magic, and people came and went.
Yeah. Well, the thing about
for
it,
whatever reasons, but the magic stayed with the core, and they kept on going. They kept on going. They kept on going, and not many of them actually retired.
Well, the thing is, Ann and Nancy Wilson weren't original members of the group Heart, but they made the band their own because they were such a powerful force within it.
Yep.
And as some of the original members were leaving, that's when Howard Leese came into the band, Denny Carmassi, their drummer, and Mark Andes. Now, Mark Andes started out with Firefall.
Mm-hmm.
And he's since rejoined Jock Bartley of Firefall and been playing with them for a number of years now. And it's interesting how stuff like that goes away, comes around, where they were in a band, they leave for a while, and then eventually they return.
Yeah, I kind of like that when that happens.
Yeah, I do too. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work out.
Well, the bad thing
Again,
is
I
that,
use Journey as
they
an example.
were in really, really, really good bands while they were away from their original band.
Yeah.
And then something happens, and they wind up kind of drifting back, and you go, "Oh man!" But what you left behind, okay, it's as good as what you're doing now, and I can't fault you for that. But there were still possibilities with what got left behind.
Oh yeah, and
actually that works with the original band as well as the new band.
Yeah,
and then back to the original again.
Yeah, and one that I would like to see happen, but probably never will. It'll be another instance of like the Eagles with Hell Freezes Over.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see Peter Cetera play with Chicago again, even if it's just for one more album.
I would love to see Chicago get the brass section back. Yeah. And Peter Cetera would be more than welcome to come in and sing and play bass and whatever else he does.
Yeah. Well, the bad part about Chicago is they tour a lot, and most of the big three that were in their brass section, horn section, whatever you want to call it, they can't handle the touring schedule anymore.
No, we're all getting older, and they were a little older than me back in the day. They got at least 10, 15 years on me. So they got to be in their 70s by now.
Well, that's another thing. Jason Scheff, who replaced Peter Cetera, got tired of the schedule because he was wanting to spend more time with his family. Like, if we're touring 250 days out of the year, that gets old quick.
It does. Yeah, it does. And that's a hazard of any band that actually makes it big, because you got this drive from the record company, you've got this drive from yourselves. You want to go out and play all these places, you want to play all these dates, all these shows, and then you reach the point to where
Dan Kevin Steverson popped in. He is a friend of mine. He's an author friend. He's a very good author.
Oh yeah. Well,
Kevin,
shoot him.
if you want the info to join in,
Give him
all
the
you
link.
need is a browser.
Give
We'll
him
be
the
happy to
link.
have you on. Hang on a second.
I ain't got to work tomorrow. We can make this another 4-hour show. Hell. I do need to go take the battery charger out of my wife's car sometime soon because it was dead as a doornail. She's got one of those alternators that drains the battery when it's turned off. So we have to charge it up about twice a week unless she drives it every day. So I've got the charger out there going so she can go to church in the morning. In about 6 hours, 4 hours.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
I mean, I'm not going to stay up forever, but if Kevin wants to join in, I'll be happy to hang around for a little bit longer because he's a cool guy.
More the merrier. I mean, I don't do this show so I can sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm wanting him to Joe to have him as a guest at Hallowcon at some point.
Hey, well, you're one of the powers that be.
Well, I try and use my influence, what little I have. I sent you a link in Messenger, Kevin. It's got it at the top of the little message box and the icon of it. If you go to StreamYard or click on that link, you can either use it on your phone or your laptop. It's browser based.
Anything with a camera and a microphone.
Yep.
That'll work. Although if you're using external speakers, we'll get an echo.
Yep.
Oh, there we go. Device not connected. Oh, you'll have to activate your microphone and camera before you can.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Let's see what we got here.
Hey, Kevin.
Hang on. Let me put on my headset, y'all. Hang on.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah, kill your external speaker, but
can you hear me now?
Yeah, kill your
if you got your phone volume on or whatever,
I'm on my computer. If you hear a little fuzz,
it sounds better now.
Yeah. Yeah, you got your headset on. Leave your microphone on and turn the external speakers for your computer off.
Yeah.
Just cycle all the sound through your headphones.
Hang on a second. I'm hearing y'all twice.
That's why.
Got it all go through got it all now. Is that better?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Don't hear an echo.
Nice to meet you.
Yep.
Hey, how you doing?
This is my friend Dan. He's an author as well. He's actually from the Athens area, so I don't think he's too far from where you are.
That's better. Is that better now?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Good deal. All right, fellas. I seen y'all on. I'm a night writer.
Yeah.
Chris knows this. I write all night long. I don't really start writing until about 10 at night. I write till 6 in the morning. So, and I sleep till about 1. So when I see somebody else on, I'm like, hey, let's check it out.
There is life after dark.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, we're night owls at heart. Or I am anyway.
Oh, definitely. Once I retire and don't have to go to work in the morning anymore, this is going to be a every night thing, not just after stupid o'clock.
Right. Yeah, I retired from the military and I just write, and so I just keep my own hours.
So, thank you for your service.
Appreciate you.
Whereabouts are you located, Kevin?
I am only about 30 minutes north of Athens, up here in Commerce.
Oh Lord, yeah, I go through there all the time.
Yeah, Banks County. I'm about 2 miles off behind Tractor Farm Supply there, off 59.
Okay, yeah.
So, where you at? Down there in Athens, near Athens, or where?
I'm in between Danielsville, Colbert, and Athens.
Okay.
Let's see. Danielsville is about 7 miles away. Athens is about 7 miles away, and Colbert is about 6 miles away.
Right. Okay.
So you're kind of in a Bermuda Triangle.
Well, I got to triangulate between the local villages,
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I know right where you are down that way. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin has he's got several successful books out. Salvage Title Universe, which is a favorite of mine.
Oh, I've read that.
Yes.
Have you? Cool.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, that's mine. It's matter of fact, we got an anthology coming out here in about a month, followed by a novel by myself and Casey Ezel. We co-wrote one using my main characters, and then she contributed. So that'll be coming out in about a month.
I don't know if you know her or not, Dan, but she's awful cool. She's a military pilot and great writer and cool.
Yeah, she's a helicopter pilot in the Air Force, and usually you think of fixed wing in the Air Force, but she flies the helicopters, and if the pilot goes down, she's the one that's flying in to get them. So yeah, some of that hairy, scary flying that she does. So
hey, anything with a helicopter is hairy, scary to me.
Yeah.
You got to use both hands, both feet, and wish you had a third one to be able to control one of them buggers.
Right. Yeah, she writes CKP Publishing, which is Chris Kennedy Publishing. She also writes for Bain. She had that noir anthology with Larry Correa recently. Yeah. So yeah.
You've worked with Three Ravens Publishing, haven't you?
A matter of fact, I owe him a short story right now. So, yep, I'll be in that anthology, I guess, when it comes out. So, it came from the trailer park one, where it's all. Yeah. So,
I'm tied up with 3 unfinished novels at the moment, so I wasn't able to do anything with that. I'm trying to get this stuff done because I owe Scott 2 books at the moment, and would like to finish a third one and hand it over to him as well, because it's so many irons in the fire,
right?
So many excuses not to be working.
Yeah, I understand. I got a lot going on too, and it just I think it took too much this summer. So I don't think next summer I'm going to do that. It just seemed all the anthologies piled up all at once because
they do that.
Yeah, by the end of the month, I've got one that's going to Christopher Woods, and that's for Bain for the Liberty Con anthology.
Yeah,
and a couple more I owe Chris Kennedy Publishing, and so.
You going to be at Liberty Con?
I will. I'll be up there. Well, if they have it next year, I will.
Well, it's supposed to be. I mean,
yeah.
And unless the shit hits the fan again.
Well, it's going to be closing in on the next midterm elections, and anyhow, we don't need to get into politics, but we'll see if stuff gets closed down again.
Hopefully, it happens.
I understand the reference. Yes, every time there's an election, there's a pandemic.
Oh yeah. There's a crisis. But anyhow,
Yeah, well, I will be there. I'm been a regular at Liberty Con for almost 16 years now.
Nice. So have you gone to Fantasy? They've only had it twice, but have you considered going?
No. I work in a factory, so I can just barely get time off to go to other things. But I have been a regular at Anachrocon, the alternate history convention in Atlanta, and the last couple of years of its existence, I was the literary track director because the lady that had been doing that passed away, and they asked me to step into her shoes. And let me tell you, that was difficult to do, but I did my best.
Yeah, and I can imagine. But yeah, if you ever get the time, or when you retire and you start doing more cons and that kind of thing, I will go ahead and tell you that FantasyCon is the same kind of crowd that's at LibertyCon.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a matter of fact, a lot of the people that run LibertyCon came to Fantasy.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
there's like 6 different Chattanooga conventions that everybody shows up. It's like a family reunion every time.
Yeah, that one's in Durham, Raleigh and Durham, that area.
It's
Mhm.
very
Durham,
nice
North
hotel.
Carolina.
Yep, I've been through there. Nobody knows how to drive in there.
No, you're right, they don't. But yeah, it's a nice little con. When you get to where you can attend more, that's one you ought to put on your radar just to consider.
Oh,
Fantasy, yeah.
It's laid
Definitely.
back. They
Yeah,
have
it's-
good libations.
It's a great little con, and they rotate fantasy one year,
Mhm.
science fiction the next. They have both things happening at each con, but the guest of honors are
Mhm.
either one or the other, and they rotate that every year.
Mhm.
So
I won't have to worry about that. I'm just a little guy.
But tell them about Aphelion.
Aphelion? Oh,
Yeah.
it's a permanent floating writers workshop. It's the e-zine that I run. It's been online continuously since 1997, and since then we've helped about 350, almost 400 writers turn pro from being just, hey, here's a story I wrote, to, oh, I'm getting a paycheck for this. I just got signed.
nice.
And, that's what we do, is we try and get people used to doing their editing, their spell checks, formatting stuff the way whichever publisher they're submitting to wants it to be done,
Right.
and create with confidence and do their best work, and don't be afraid to send it out there, and let people see it and consider it, and if you get a rejection slip, send it someplace else. Study the market that you're shooting for. Don't send a urban fantasy to story to a horror publisher. And
Right.
don't send military sci-fi to somebody that only does romance. Use some common sense and tackle your market and learn your chops and spell check, and that's it. I mean,
Right. And follow the submission guidelines. Don't
that's
if
the
it's
big thing.
if it says 10,000, don't send 10,100 with a note saying sorry it went long. I really wanted that part in the story, because they're tossing it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So
And don't send 10,014 either.
No.
If it says 10,000, send 10,000.
yeah, stay within the boundaries.
Yep.
Don't send them 7,200 when it was 8 to 10,000.
Really, you got the color within the lines.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Well, let me go get another beer and y'all catch up, and I'll be right back.
All right. So what's going on up that way in the northwest corner of the state there, Chris?
We actually, me and some friends went up to Chattanooga at Camp Jordan Arena, which is just across the state line in East Ridge.
Right.
They had FarleyCon, which is a one-day show, kind of comics centric, but they had collectibles and stuff like some actors that have been in various films. There was one that was from Birmingham, John Anderson. He's been in like a dozen Marvel Cinematic Universes as an extra. He actually played one of the Ravengers from Guardians of the Galaxy, which is the group with Michael Rooker's character.
Right.
Sergeant Slaughter was there.
Cool. That's one of the wrestlers.
He looks amazing to be 72 years old. He still moves well, and he's probably 270, 275, and his chin still looks like it's chiseled out of granite.
Nice.
And there were some authors there, and like I said, some.
I think Diamond Dallas Page is going to be at Dragon Con, from what I saw.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's real popular with his yoga, and he's actually. What's his name? Scott Hall, one that played Razor Ramon. And,
right. Yeah.
and the outsiders that credit him with saving his life. There's been a few others too that
Right.
he's helped a lot. But basically, it was just a chance to see with some friends and get a few collectible items if you were so interested in them, and basically get out and experience something as the world threatens to slow down and possibly restrict public gatherings once again.
Right. Yeah. I mean, what are you
I
gonna
know
do?
it is what it is. I'm trying not
Yeah.
to get political.
Yeah.
I was just making that one comment.
Yeah. I don't let it stress me. Since I retired from the military and all I do is write, it really, that whole lockdown really didn't affect me personally. And my wife has always been at home. Our kids are all grown now, but the grandkids visit. But yeah, we never,
And
so.
Dan, his son, is also a successful author.
Yeah, my son Nick writes, and then my daughter has turned her story into to CKP. We'll see what happens with that. She can write too.
And don't you kind of manage a music group?
Yeah, we have been on the road.
Affiliated with them, or?
Well, I manage Tyler's manager himself, and then I'm the tour manager for the band Cyber Spring. We're signed to the same labels, Colt Ford and some of those others. Colt Ford's from the Athens area, so you may recognize that name, Dan.
It's not one I'm familiar with, but I probably know people that know exactly who they are.
Yeah, it's that mixed genre. Country has got that, with a little rock in it, a little rap in it, that whole mixed genre coming out of country.
Mm-hmm.
So.
There's some good stuff coming out from. There's some good stuff coming out from the kids now.
Yeah.
Dan has his own music. He's 9 or 10 albums now.
I got 9 out now, and I've got enough stuff written to where it's probably about time I started putting the 10th one together. But it'd be like a quarter of a 10th one right now.
Right.
It's just all this. This is all the stuff I do on the computer.
Is it what kind of music? Southern rock, or is it music?
It covers a broad spectrum, pretty much, from what I understand.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Back when I was in a garage band, it was you considered a cross between Grateful Dead, Frank Zappa, and
yes, maybe.
Yeah. Some of it could have been in that. Yeah. Except it was just me and a guitar player, and on one occasion a live drummer, but most of the time a drum machine or whatever. And then there's stuff that I just had a recording studio in my living room that had a couple of drum kits put together. Basically 6 or 7 synthesizers and a couple of reel-to-reel tape recorders and 12-channel mixing board and mics hanging from the ceiling and stuff coming from the amplifiers and whatnot. We'd get together and jam and it kind of came to a screeching halt. The guy that was teaching me how to play, his girlfriend at the time moved off to Philadelphia, and he followed her up there and eventually married her because she was the love of his life. And I'm sitting here, and I got together with a few guys from the factory, and everything was going pretty good until it was more important that they got drunk than play music.
Oh, yeah,
so I tossed them out of the house and kind of closed the book on that. I did a little stuff by myself for a while, and then wound up going, well, computers are a thing. Maybe I should buy one. So I did. I noodled around with. I used to be in a marching band in high school, so there was a music program that would let you just click and do notes on sheet music, and I did that for a while. But it all sounded like marching band music. and
Right.
I got a little tired of that after a while. And nowadays, I've got something called Magic's Music Maker, where you get to play with tape loops and things like that.
Right. Yeah.
And I play with it like it was a set of Tinker Toys or Lego blocks and piece stuff together. So I've done quite a few things like that. Some of it's kind of steampunk, some of it's rock, some of it's orchestral, some of it's just really weird shit. And I've gotten to the point where I can mix in sound effects and whatnot along with the music, and I do what I like, and I don't really care if anybody buys it or not. It's over on Bandcamp, and I don't, I tell people about it, and occasionally somebody will buy something, and I'll get a couple of dollars a month or whatever. But it's not what I'm trying to make a living off of. So
Right. Yeah, I think I got 6 songs that are cut that I wrote or co-wrote. One of them, the band I manage is on Average Joe's record label in Nashville, and I blew my voice out screaming at soldiers a long time ago. So I'm only good for a song or two. I can get in the booth and I can cut a demo or a rough tape, just so the guys know what to sing on what I wrote. When I write the hook or whatever.
Yeah.
But they kept me in the studio one time, and they kept me in there. And there's a platinum producer, the same guy that produced Dirt Road Anthem, the song, in Nashville. And he kept me in the booth, and they kept me in there for about 8 or 9 takes. And I'm like, "What are you guys doing?" Come to find out, the guys wanted me, even though I wrote the hook. They wanted me on the song, so I ended up getting on the song with the guys, and that one made the compilation album for the record label and was on the shelf at Walmart. I mean, it was.
There you go.
Yeah, so I checked that one off the bucket list. So the guys, just a little bit about the guys. The band's called Cypress Spring. They have 65 million views on YouTube, if that tells you anything.
That's pretty dang good.
And that's not counting their streams on Pandora, Spotify, and all that. So
yeah, that's about 64.9 million views than I've ever got.
That one song they have me sing doesn't have a video. It's just a picture, and then the song's on there on YouTube. And last time I looked, it had like 120,000. So I'm like,
congratulations.
Well, I just check it off. I check it off the list. Those guys are younger than me. They're all 30 and below, and I was just managing them behind the scenes. It wasn't for me to be out front and do singing, but they tricked me into that one. So it's supposed to be all about them.
Gesture on their part.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, they liked the song, and so
let's get the old man in here and give him some retirement money.
Yeah, they laughed about it. So, but when a platinum producer out of Nashville tells you to stay in the booth, you stay in the booth.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you do? So,
did he happen to share the same first name as our host of this program?
Who's that?
The platinum producer.
No, it was a guy named Jared. It's from 5 Star Productions. So
I just wondered if it might have been Dan Huff because
no, it was Jared. We've worked with Jared. We've worked with a lot of people in Nashville. I know Michael Knox, and he does all Chase Alvin stuff, and some of those guys. Over the years, because I've been going back and forth to Nashville writing for a long time. You write hundreds of songs and never get anything cut. And then when I started writing with these guys, my son introduced me to Kalen, and he was like, "Wow, you go to Nashville?" And then it went from there. And so, but the whole pandemic, it shut down touring, so no touring, and the guys got a taste of home and with their young kids, and Kalen's got one on the way, and nowadays you don't have to tour to make money with music. You really don't. You can make money off the streaming and everything else, and they're like, we don't know about that. And what do I do? Well, they're doing well. They get a check twice a year.
About time you learned. Yeah.
Well, they get a check twice a year. They do pretty well with it, and they don't have to leave their family. And so I can't instill in them the drive and hunger that they had in 2015 when we started. When they were out there, we played these shows, and when you played $700 shows, there's the dogs barking. You played $700 shows, $500 shows. I can't. Hold on a second. This dog is crazy. Hang on.
Okay.
It's all right. Got one myself.
Yep, we have critters all the time, Kevin.
Yep. all the cats are out in the yard, but we got a dog in the bedroom with my wife right now, guarding her. Lord help me if I put my foot the wrong way, the damn thing will eat me.
And
Right.
and every now and then I have a cat or critter making some
Crazy
something
noise.
up that
You know,
interrupt the show.
and Kalen, one of the guys in the band, he started going, he's always been a Christian, but he started going to church more and more and more. And so he's doing some Christian stuff, some Christian rap and and writing some Christian music. He's got an EP the label's going to put out and that kind of thing. So the touring and the bar scene is not so much anymore,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Just evolving in his music, evolving with his life. That's what he wants to do.
Well, life is evolving.
Yeah, and he's got royalties coming in, and they always do. And not only does he get something from the label twice a year, once a quarter he gets something from BMI, and that's substantial because he's, obviously the royalties on those are pretty substantial. So yeah, they're doing fine. Tyler's doing great. Are you going to FactoryCon, Chris? Are you going to that?
I probably won't be because it's such a long drive and it's like a weekend or two before Hallowcon.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And I'm trying to get Joe to get you lined up for next year.
Okay.
He wanted me to get some of your information, but if you're going to be available around midnight next Saturday, I would love to invite you on to Joe's show, Stupid O'Clock, which precedes this one.
Okay. Yeah.
It comes on. Let's see.
Midnight.
You're not in a different time zone.
No, he's
Joe.
No.
Yeah, Joe's show comes on 11 o'clock Saturdays.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And 9 o'clock on Thursday.
Okay. Yeah. On Saturdays, we about 11 o'clock is when I get done with the call that I'm on with a bunch of the authors from CKP. We just shoot the breeze and that kind of thing. It's not nothing out in the world. It's just a Zoom from within.
Yeah.
So that's not a problem.
Yeah.
But anyhow, at FactoryCon, Tyler's coming from the band Cyber Spring. He's coming. He co-wrote some fantasy with me, but he's coming with his guitar.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'd be pretty cool. He's got a little set worked up. He's going to do for everybody there. And what FactoryCon is, Dan, is the CKP, Chris Kennedy Publishing, and the fans of the whole Force Horseman universe and Mike Salvage universe and all that are.
I believe I've heard that name before.
We're meeting up in the Outer Banks, about the 20th of October.
It
around that weekend.
Fun.
Yeah. So.
I mean, it sounds like a ton of fun, but like I said, the next weekend is Hallowcon, and I have to be there.
And it's an intimate gathering. It's not. It's kind of like we call it FactoryCon because the factory floor with the boss, but there's not going to be panels. Yeah. Nobody's skipping around to do panels. It's just we're there with some of the fans that wanted to come and people that write for CKP and that kind of thing. Yeah. So networking and
relaxing and enjoying each other's company.
Yeah, hanging out.
Sounds like a fun time.
Yeah. So, how long before you retire and start doing the whole writing full time there, Dan?
30 months.
Oh, not so bad. Not so bad at all. So, if not this next year, upcoming, you'll get the next one.
It'll be, let's see, 2024 in February when I pull the plug. Okay. In 2023, I will have 45 years seniority, and then I'll finish out the rest of that year, come in on January 2nd and file for 5 weeks of vacation, and then come in about February 5th and go bye-bye.
Nice.
And never go back again. I've spent almost half a century in that drafty old barn of a building, working my ass off, and I've got things set up to where I've got some retirement money coming to me, and I can kick back and relax and do what I want to do, and hopefully I will live long enough to spend all that damn money.
There you go. Spend it all.
Oh yeah. Well, I gotta make sure that my wife's taken care of in case that she outlives me, but and which is most likely because she is 3 years younger than I am, and she's in much better health. So I got to make sure she's taken care of. But then, however long I've got, however long I got, I've got all kinds of stories in my head that I need to write down. I've got all kinds of music that I need to write down, and as much of it as I can get out before I shuffle off this mortal coil, the better off I'm going to feel. So,
and Kevin has been super busy with the anthologies and his other stuff, and I have yet to read anything bad that he's done.
Everybody writes a stinker now and then. I just try not to turn it loose.
Well, sometimes you can't help it.
Yeah, but like I said, everything I've read so far has been really good, really enjoyable, great.
I like to tease that I'm the unicorn.
You are,
and I am the unicorn. So while I was in the military, I didn't write. I had to wait till I retired to write because I just didn't have time. So the first thing I ever had published wasn't a short story; it was an actual novel. The first publisher I ever approached said that yes. And he published it, and 3 weeks after it was out, it was number 640 on all of Amazon.
There you go.
And then the trilogy, followed, about every 90 days, the next 3 books. And 18 months after I got published, I got a movie deal for the trilogy. So it's not supposed to happen that way. I know it's not supposed to happen that way. And I tease that, I am a unicorn and it just happened. But, I've been a reader my whole life and I've studied a lot. And I just like you talked about earlier, I knew which publisher to approach first. Because I studied all the small publishers and the medium publishers. I didn't try to approach a big one. I didn't look for the big 5. I didn't look for Bain. I looked to see who would publish what I was writing. And then I went from there. So there was a lot of research involved. And as far as a lifelong reader like that, I knew what I wanted to write. You know what I mean? I knew I didn't want to write big, long, windy sentences. I knew I wasn't going to be hard science fiction. I knew, you know what I mean? Those little things like that. So,
yeah.
Knowing your audience and having a good story to tell and putting as much polish on it as you can before you send it off.
Right.
Vital.
And then sometimes the lightning strikes.
Right. Yeah, it can.
And you can put a lifetime of work into it and nothing happens. You can put a few years into it and all of a sudden you found the right thing and all of a sudden crack a boom. You're off and running and trying to keep up, and you're trying to prove that what you did the first time was not a flash in the pan. You got another one coming up that's just as good, if not better.
Yeah,
and you always try to make the second one better than the first one, and the third one better than the first 2. And
right,
it's a never-ending story there.
Then you get a great tie-in when you said lightning strikes.
Yeah.
Was it you or Nick that did Hide the Lightning?
I did. I wrote Hide the Lightning, which is the 4th. It's the next book following that trilogy. Yeah, all my books have had an orange tag for being a number 1 in several different charts, except my fantasy. My fantasy didn't do that yet. I got 2 of the fantasy out of the trilogy. When I write the 3rd one, I think fantasy readers like to see the whole thing before they really get involved. They kind of like to binge read. And I think that's what it is with fantasy. So once I get that 3rd one out, I'll have the whole trilogy and I'll start running some ads on it and that kind of thing and see if I can push it.
I enjoyed I read the first one. I don't know if I got around to the
Burnt. Yeah, Burnt and then Accepted.
Burnt
yeah.
was good.
Yeah, I got a little different take on typical fantasy tropes. Because in my world, elves are evil. And there's a reason they live forever, and it involves sacrificing demons, and they're sacrificing human babies. So, yeah, see, everybody that reads fantasy is like, wait a minute.
No.
And one of my main guys is he's a half orc, and he's typical work is a result. A half orc is a result of rape and pillage, plunder, that kind of thing, right? No, yes. His mother was horribly burnt when she was young, so no human would have her. And then she met an orc, and he was smaller. He was a runt as an orc, and they fell in love. And my half orc, his parents lived happily ever after on the farm. So what the hell are you talking about, a bastard?
I'm used to reading Terry Pratchett, where elves are basically vampires.
Yeah, dang.
And the vampires are pissed about it, giving them a bad name. Oh Lord. Yep. I write a lot of stuff that. Well, the Spaceport Bar stories are science fiction with a little bit of humor dashed in them. The Tom Darby stuff is basically if James Bond came from Virginia and was a Korean War vet and accidentally ran into a flying saucer one night on his motorcycle. And then I've got a fantasy thing in the works. It's basically somebody posted a meme of here's a cat with a crow walking behind it on a paved road, and they are both familiars for some witch that got in trouble and got kidnapped, and they're trying to go off and rescue her. And I go, I can write that damn story. I've got about 90% of it right now, but I'm working on the second Tom Darby. It's a prequel to the original story that got published. So I'm trying to go back to when he ran away from home to join the army when he was underage and wound up being a Sabre jet pilot in Korea, and then got drafted against his will by the CIA and a whole bunch of spooks, and wound up flying the precursor to the SR-71, the A-12, and then kind of got inadvertently pulled into doing ground ops and just kept going and kept going and kept going. And basically what I'm trying to do is get him from enlisting during the Korean War up to the 70s when he ran into the flying saucer with his motorcycle, which is where the second story, the original story, which is the second story, came in. And then after that, I've got him planned out for about 6 books.
Nice.
And one of which is already written, but I can't publish because most of the major characters in that belong to somebody else's shared universe.
Oh,
Yeah, it really sucks because it's some of the best stuff I ever did, but somebody else owns it, and until that guy gets off his high horse and goes, okay, we'll publish it, and it's going to be online only because it's already done. It's there. It's been edited to a fairly well. It's great stuff, but I can't do anything with it myself. So I've got to pick up the story after that and go on into the further adventures. And then the Spaceport Bar story, the Spaceport Bar stuff is basically one short story after another, and it became a shared universe itself. But I wrote the first 8, and then there were about 100 after that, and then I got the contract where I could write some more of my own and get them published. So I wrote another 10 or 12, and they're out there in the first book that I ever sold. But I can continue on in that forever because I've got like 11,000 years worth of history on that planet that I've already got timelined out, and I know exactly what everything is and everything does. And the Spaceport Bar is a great way to have somebody just come in and tell that history,
right,
without having to go back and trying to write it in some antiquated language. But it's like, oh yeah, I remember this. I read it in history class. This happened here and this happened there, and and there was this wizard, and here's this giant robot, and here's this evil thing, and here's where a dragon attacked a space shuttle, and
wow.
yeah, my imagination often leaves people going, how do you think of this shit? And I go, I get real bored. You tried driving a tractor for 20 years. I'll tell you, driving around in ever decreasing circles gives you lots of time to think of shit.
Mhm.
And the factory wasn't much better because all I ever had to do was be able to count to 24, and that's the most part of the job. And well, physical labor, but
So it's your weekend off now, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, I usually get weekends off, but I usually don't get off till late Friday night. So I usually miss the Thursday night show.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the Saturday night show's usually a little bit more rowdy, and then it's like I'm gonna have to get off here in a little bit. But last time what was it, 4 hours and 45 minutes?
4 hours and 45 minutes. But every time we wanted to quit and shut it down, somebody else came in and started it all up again.
Yeah, I didn't mean to start you up again, keep everybody up.
No, you were fine. We were planning on going to
You're
this
more
point.
than welcome. I'm glad to meet you.
Yep.
So
I'm glad to have you on here. And like I said, if you're interested, I will try and get you a link next Saturday night so you can join in and I can introduce you appropriately. And hopefully we can get the ball rolling on next year. I would love for you to come as an attendee, but like I said, you're doing the camp thing the week before.
Yeah.
But and he's already booked all of his guests, and I don't want to cut into yours or their potential profits.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I understand.
But next year, like I said, I would love to have you there in attendance, and I can get you introduced and
well, I mean,
get the ball rolling.
I mean, it's not that far. I may just pop in just to attend.
Hey,
it's up there. Where's it at? It's in
Dalton.
Yeah, that's not very far.
And the hotel rooms are cheap. They're $69 a night plus tax.
Right. But aren't they already booked out, or are they?
No, the hotel still has
hotel still has rooms. And as far as I know, the memberships aren't sold out either.
No. There's plenty of memberships right now. The online rate to register for it is $35. That pays for the whole weekend, and we feed you. It's hamburgers and hot dogs on Friday night,
right?
And Saturday night we have the feast, which is usually 2 types of meat, 4 veggies, maybe a salad. I don't know if we're going to do salad because salads have gotten so expensive this year. The costs keep going up for that, which I don't know why. They are.
So what's the date? What's the date on that?
It is
Halloween weekend.
Yeah, 29th through the 31st.
Okay, yeah, I have to look and see what day I would pop in, because I mean, we do the Halloween with the kids. Is that a Saturday?
Halloween is actually Sunday night.
Okay.
Saturday night is the 30th, and the Friday night is Friday night we have the Molly Maguires performing, and they do Irish songs. Somebody asked them once what kind. I said both kinds. I said the fighting and the drinking kind.
Nice.
They usually perform for about an hour, and like I said, love to have you there. The thing is, the hotel blocks off that weekend, so our attendees get the priority for rooms.
Right.
If you call the hotel and let them know that you're with Hallowcon, they will give you the rate, will get you a room, and
you can't get a room online. You have to call the hotel.
About how many people attend? Is 300 or 400 or a couple hundred?
Maybe 200, 250. We have had up to 400, but
it's a really intimate little con.
Yeah, I like small con. I wouldn't mind going to one where I don't have any obligations. Just go to be a, just to go to be going.
This will be my first one. Joe Dog's been after me for years to show up. I'm not going to be on any panels unless he changes his mind at the last minute. I just had to show up and be charming, and don't get so drunk I get arrested.
Yeah, I don't. I gave up drinking a long time ago, so I don't have to worry about that part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
And the great thing about it, like I said, with the badge, your food and your soft drinks or waters are included. So
Right.
yep,
I
that's
may have to pop in. I'll see what night they're doing the Halloween trick or treating around here, and go the opposite night.
yeah.
Pop
Well,
in up there.
like I said, let me know. I will get you the phone number and details that you need to. And like I said, we'll try and get you on next Saturday night. So introduce you to some of the people we know, and you know, get more people aware of the salvage universe if they're not aware of it, and
Yeah.
the other
Well,
products that you have to offer.
yeah. Well, like I said, if I go
Yeah.
this year, I just want to just go, just to go. I don't need.
I know, but like I
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
just get people familiar with it. And
Right. Is Bill
Well,
going to be at that one? Is Bill Webb going to be there? Do you know if he's going to be there this year?
no, I don't believe so. Mark Wandry was there one year with Joy, and I'm trying to think of anybody else that you would know.
Yeah, that's not what 20 Books is in November, so I'm okay there.
Yeah,
And Superstars is in February, so I'm all right there.
yeah.
So,
But feel free to shoot me a message. I can get you any more information that you might need or want. And but I'm so tickled that you were on and decided you wanted to pop in and join us.
oh yeah. It's a pleasure to have you. It really is.
It's pretty neat to see somebody on late at night like I am, because I'm usually, I'm just writing, stay up all night writing.
If I didn't have a staff meeting tomorrow, I would stay on a little longer.
Oh yeah, no, I understand. You need to get you some rest.
Yeah, but I appreciate you coming on here, and
I appreciate y'all having me.
Feel free to stick around if you want to, because Dan probably.
I got to get back to work because I got them deadlines by the end of the month, including that Bane book, or Bane short story. So,
all right.
Yep.
Well,
I understand completely. I am not really want to do another 4 or 5 hour extra.
No.
I understand.
But thanks for joining in, Kevin. Dan, a pleasure as always. And I will catch y'all later. And enjoy the rest of your weekend.
All right. You guys too.
You have a good night, Chris. You have a good night, Kevin. And
it's good meeting you, Dan. So.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's good meeting you too.
All right. Until next time. Bye.
All right. Bye.
And y'all get some sleep eventually. All right. Well, here we come to the part that is definitely last man standing, but let's play the other Rising Tide advert, and then I will probably go directly to the end credits, and Lord knows I might even get some sleep while it's still dark. Wonders will never cease. just as entertaining as everyone can possibly make it. It's really one of those things where there is no drawback. There is no negative to watching some of these shows and becoming fans and interacting with the hosts and the other fans of the shows and all the people involved. It's Well, it really boils down to the philosophy of a rising tide lifts all ships. So the mutual cooperation between everyone promoting everybody else and everyone doing the most entertaining things that they know to do on their shows. There's outstanding stuff, like I said, every day and every night of the week. And there is more new stuff coming, I am told. I'll have to revise the schedule card yet again, which I don't mind doing, because as long as folks are watching and listening and having fun and discovering new stuff, everybody wins. And that's the kind of circumstance I like. Everybody wins. What was it? Well, let's not go there. That's referencing something that's copyrighted, so I won't do that. But here we go. I'm about to run the end credits, so this is Dan Hollifield for Last Man Standing. I am glad that y'all stayed tuned in for this this show, this amount of time, and I hope we entertained you. And thank you very much for giving us your attention. And if you haven't ever read the story in the end credits before, you're in for a treat. Good night. See you next week. And thank you very much for being here.